Hello and welcome to another vlog. This might be the last one of the year, potentially. Probably. I should probably also do a desktop stream at some point to cover some end of year reflection stuff, but you know, it's Christmas. You know, first Christmas since the election was fully in swing. So I figured, why not let's do a doozy and let's see what Woodley Park and its residents have for Christmas decorations. So you know where this is going. So we'll see if Teal or Zuck have any. I'd assume not, but you never know. And again, right, Christmas decorations would be conspicuous consumption, so it would make sense. We can now see if the security guy decides to call me over or not as well. So we'll see. But I don't know, the vibes should be good for this video. No, of course I have the things I could whinge about, but not as interested in that. It's the festive season, right? I felt a sudden rush of agency and making the most of 2026, and hopefully most years going forward. To some degree, it does feel like, well, like you turn 18. Well, I'm 23 now, so in some ways it does feel like I wasted. Right, haven't made the most of 5 years. Certainly haven't made the most of college, and really wish I was more social in college. It's because it is so much easier than the drudgery of contemporary. Just because it's so much easier, right, to meet up with pals and whatnot. Whereas right nowadays it's tough. And then secondly, living in Rockville, in the single family housing part of Rockville, in the basement, we have to subway and then you have to walk. It takes 12 minutes or 15 minutes to walk back to the house. It kind of sucks and is an impediment. So I think, and again, college, right, you have a lot of things to worry about, right? Working part-time and classes and all that. So in retrospect, I regret not being more proactive from 18 to 23 in my peak physical years, but I guess that's 25% of life done. But the other side of it is it's just you know, I can write it off as just taking care of the good old basics back then, and then what's left is you know, just use it as a reminder to make the most of it and all. But again, you know, reality has a disappointingly effective track record at diminishing my enthusiasm and over time. So we'll see. But yeah, I do think certainly the big thing in 2026 could be moving to an actual studio somewhere in DC. Might be. You know, it might make sense given someone else might need a vehicle, so it will work out. And then presumably being in the city, be a different experience. It would be a step up, but my rent in my basement went up 10%. So like it would be a step up, but you can find a place that would be reasonable for the area, especially if you do it in winter. So the crime means I am condemned, if you think about it, I am condemned to exist in my basement, the crappy neighbors or slash housemates, for the next 11 months. But, you know, like, I suppose there's always everything in life is somewhat conditional on something else. So we'll have to see if other things shape out that way. But a step up in rent, it seems that from going from paying $860 to $1,300, $1,400, you know, presumably if things go the right way, there would be an income jump that would match, that would nullify it. And I do think, right, I do think living in Rockville for the past, or mysterious Maryland suburb, to not reveal so much personal detail on these videos, right? It would be to so I suppose part of it could be in the next 6 months, effectively just try to just be way more social and active. Just try to get the proof of concept that I would make the most of being in a more dense, closer to the city area. That could be one thing. But I think ultimately, I do think the novelty of living in DC would be nice. It's not as though I vote currently. Well, I never changed my voter registration, so I'm not sure if I'm going to have to deal with Pennsylvania local tax once again. Maybe that'll. Well, certainly if I'm going to move and I wouldn't have a car at that point. I'm sorry, not changing the license plate, but oh no, it's something fun. The same way like planning for a trip to another country is fun, where you think about where you want the hotel to be, which hotel has the best public transit accessibility. You know, it's fun stuff to think about. I think the same with this, right? Like, as far in the distance, I had an epiphany last night. Oh crap! It has been a while since I've walked out this way, so I forget what street takes me to Senor Teal. So there's a lot I could say about this, but I do think I was like the best things, right? You get a moment of inspiration late at night, by which I mean 8 p.m. and then you roll it forward. So I think at the very least it's a motivating thing to be more social, to get the confidence that that the marginal step up in cost would be worthwhile. And then secondly, like presumably the experience of living in a basement in a single family house in the suburbs is much more commodifiable than the experience of living in DC. And of course, it wouldn't be living in DC proper. It'd be probably like the stretch of the red line that it doesn't extend. It wouldn't be in DuPont or whatnot. It'd be like Woodley Park or Van Ness or Friendship Heights. But apparently Friendship Heights does not have affordable apartments, yet Van Ness and the Woodley Park area does, for whatever reason. So very strange, but we will see. Like, inshallah, we need some more job cuts to set up. And look at this, the Bond supervillain lair doesn't have Christmas decorations. That is actually there's an interesting class study or metaphor Man, like this is a very imposing building, but there is a, well, to everything there's always a class element to everything, or socioeconomic element to everything, right? In some places it's much more obvious, right? In the UK, your accent is this the embassy? This might be Morocco, I think. I think I ever highlighted this in a previous. And I think it's Morocco. But in the UK, right, your accent says so much about your class. In the US, it's not as blatant as that. But spitballing, but right, in my place in Rockville, people do have Christmas decorations up. Some of them are elaborate setups, whereas here it's not, right? Okay, maybe Teal has a has a huge LED light show going on, but I'm not sure what the sociological proof would be for that. But there's a difference, right? And maybe it's like just a cost sensitivity thing. Maybe the more affluent are more climate aware and are thinking about the marginal economic impact of or marginal carbon impacts. Right here, right, you have a snowman, but not a big LED light show. Where it's more subtle, right? Like the lighting in that guy's house. Oh my gosh. Gimbal endpoints, man. So annoying. Yeah, this is Teal. So no Christmas decorations, it looks like. But again, it makes sense, right? That's when you have a Napa compound, or I guess not Hawaii for his case, but why would you? It is funny, out of all the Epstein doc stuff, it's not Teal who's gotten lambasted for it. You know, it's like, this guy is smart enough to have his own independent network to do his stuff. Like, incredible. Like actually being that, at this point, like everybody's interacted with Epstein. So genuinely, I now take his contrarianism more seriously, given that he's not the one caught up in it. You know, like he actually, like at a certain point, like it is actually genuine social proof at that point of his contrarianism. Now, of course, he is homosexual, as the Gawker case pointed out. So it's always funny when people in one circle bleed over into another circle. And so when a TikToker by the name of Clavicular mentions that someone, I forget if it was Teal or representative, reached out to him to go to an event, you know, it's like, you know, the joke about Silicon Valley, and it's like, oh, everybody gets the erosion stuff. Okay, I stand corrected. There are some Christmas decorations. Or is this the wrong house? Might be, but again, right? You would think that some, like a low status wealthy person would have a huge setup of decorations. Here it's fairly modest, right? So, but again, like so kudos to Teal for not being an Epstein associate, but then B, but again, honestly, it is kind of funny. Like the same way Michael Saylor follows a bunch of Instagram models on Instagram. It's like, dude's a billionaire pumping pumping 1.1 times NAV strategy stock. Like, go for it, bro. That is superhuman. And same for Teal. Like, okay, Teal. Antichrist, this. DM, TikTok, looks maxers, that. Why not? Why not? Who am I to judge me and my all of my rants about stuff? But again, like look up like Peter Thiel Clav. You will. And again, it's not like there's no way that Clav would really know about Peter Thiel independently. You know, so I do take it as genuine, because in what scenario would multiple TikTok Zoomers, looks maxers, you know, like, it makes a lot of sense for him to independently corroborate and come to this conclusion. So, but yeah, but some of the photos, again, I've just seen the stuff that's on Twitter, so naturally I'm a realist saying the Epstein aura farming photos, but some of them, man, like one where he's in a towel with a kid, or like the 4 girls on a yoga mat, like, it's not good. Or certainly it does, and again, not everybody's in a picture of him, you know, did bad stuff, but I don't know. Just the associations. But yeah, sober, because it's been drawn out for so long. I believe he died while I was in high school. So, what you're gonna do? Excuse me. But yeah, again, not many Christmas decorations out here. You know, I'm not sure if embassies. Maybe I probably wouldn't film it, but maybe embassies would. But anyway, yeah, Chile, Santiago. I've decided, of course, you could take the bus out to Valparaiso, to the beach town, which has a public transit system out there. So I was curious, but I've decided, if in Buenos Aires, I wish, A, there are still things I want to check out, places I want to check, parts of the city I want to check out, and then B, like, it would have been nice to spend more time in the part of the city I want to spend more time in, right? Like, could I have spent more time in, well, A, I didn't spend a lot of time in Belgrano, so to walk from Palermo to Belgrano, I still need to do that. But it would have been nice to spend more time in Palermo, or Via Izquierda, wherever Parque Saavedra is. Spend more time there, check out Avellaneda. You know, it would have been nice. So I think with Chile, but land Thursday, fly out Saturday, so 8 days, which again is nice. You know, not excessively long. Yeah, it's like 10 days is the platonic, some people say, for your brain to be properly acclimatized to the right, acclimatized to the right mix of novelty versus it becoming mundane. Which, if anything, is very damning if 10 days is all it takes for it to become mundane. But that'll be, again, like, the one part I think about is, like, A, the weather will be great, but the one thing that is concerning, or something to think about, is just the lack of tree coverage the same way it works in Buenos Aires, right? So, like, that'll be different, and not that it's better or worse, but it just is different. So yeah, but that'll be, so I still need to figure out the hotel, but we'll plan it out. But yeah, so Zuck, no Christmas decorations. So again, climate friendly. Maybe accounts for Meta's climate goals. It would be funny though if you think about how Meta has the corporate carbon plan, and if the company pays X person X dollars, which is a material amount, then it could be like you have to do full accounting for it, right? And if you have to do full accounting, or it's like type 1 versus type 3, or yeah, like type, gosh, like there's a concept. I forget the terminology, but with the greenhouse gas protocol, it's basically, or it's level 1, level 2, level 3 emissions. Whereas level 1 is you as a company, like you're a coal company and you make coal. And so the carbon emissions that you generate from your trucks, that's your type 1. Type 2 is the emissions caused from the energy you use. And the type 3 is the emissions your customers cause. So it's kind of wild. It's not a perfect metaphor for, say, corporate execs and how you would roll up their carbon emissions, but you know, kudos to Zuck. Cut more of Reality Labs spending. So, but again, right, Land Rover, this time the schmuck didn't harass me. Very, very pleasant. Not sure, do we want to walk? We can walk National Cathedral, why not? Hate to do derivative videos, but it's been a while, so maybe it'll be different. Man, 2025, what a non-discrepant year. Yeah. Again, in many ways, it's very much like full year of working full time. Well, again, it's like the secret is that it's always the good old times, and the good old times is never in the past. Oh, look at that, the Aussies with a little spirit. But I do think that is a great mindset. Like, it's always the good old days. And when you think about, of course, the classic epithet is you can just do things, but you can just choose. Wow, what a high trust neighborhood we have here. Again, high trust neighborhoods or high trust society. Again, not to whinge about it, but the fact that Buenos Aires, no fare evasion versus here. Like on rainy days, you can see the mud on the fare collectors you can see where people have climbed up on it. So it's just incredibly red pilling. Or not red pilling, but radicalizing. Like there is nothing in the water in Buenos Aires that is, again, the tap water was fine, but there's nothing special about the Buenos Aires, right? It's still just, okay, there's differences, but I don't think the Lagos, Nigeria metro, right, has issues, or the Mexico City metro has these issues, right? So it's just, as simple as it is, and maybe it is high agency, but right, people have expectations, right? It's like, it is bizarre when you think about it, right? That New York City has such a widely accepted fare evasion culture, right? Even among those who are well off, right? Where it's almost a status thing to jump the fare, right? And that is clearly, right? I think that's a very fair observation. I think that's so maybe this comes down to the fact that society writ large needs to have certain expectations that can't be juked. right? Because yeah, it's like the idea that everyone's behavior can be modeled as wanting to be as visible as possible without ever looking bad. And jumping to fare is a very visible thing, but this was in US metros. It's not viewed as a badge of shame, because you are stealing from everybody else, right? It's a public good. It needs funding, right? So in the US, God knows transit needs funding. So you're literally degrading the quality of service, right, by increasing the propensities for somebody else to fare evade. You're not contributing to the funding, right? Again, like a public transit system, it is literally a fixed, especially for rail, it is a fixed cost game. And for more bus service, which isn't as fixed, but you want the marginal cost to be lower, right? Again, like nothing, like the fact that, again, like Buenos Aires, incredible bus service. It is so cool to see 6 buses drive by in a row. And the fact that on most lines, or the big lines at least, like you only wait, like the Buenos Aires bus frequency beats the DC heavy rail frequency, right? Like how radicalizing is that, right? How nice is that, right? You can have nice things. Argentina has nice things that the US doesn't have, and it's Argentina, right? Who the US has to bail out and make money by doing so, right? But that's just so radicalizing, and that's something that you should be happy with. But it is something that we accept, and we just refuse to have the will to have nice things, or we refuse to have the will to let most Americans, or most residents, have nice things, right? Like if you're rich, you'll live in this neighborhood where you can, of course, the private security, you know that, right? But if you're rich, you can live in this neighborhood, right? You can live in Woodley Park, or you can leave your trunk open and be fine. You don't have to worry about XYZ, and you have a transit accessibility, right? But most people can't live in this place, right? Certainly, the people here wouldn't want more people to be able to live in this place, right? The neighborhood would lose its charming single-family house, street parking character, yeah? So. Yeah, incredibly, man, what I would do to be back in Buenos Aires. Now, apparently, given that Brazil needs an e-visa, $80 e-visa, which is fair because there's reciprocity for the punitive conditions the US places on people. I might delay Brazil plans. I might push it out indefinitely. But it has been an unfortunate quirk that the countries I've been to, Argentina and Chile, have both had right-wing electoral victories, which does, you know, if you watch these videos, you know, isn't my ideological sympathies per se. There's a nice little cube. So it might be a bad sign if I go to Brazil and the Sao Paulo mayor wins. But again, there's a very charming video of Lula talking to a kid who stopped work, who dropped out of school at like 10 to go work to support his family. You know, I don't think people really appreciate, right, the fact that like these Latin American countries, they were literally military dictatorships, right? And the military dictatorships were, as the name suggests, not warm and fuzzy, but say by the dictatorships, we have to recognize what power means, right? And so I think most people do, but again, like the fact that like someone like Lula and people of his generation literally got arrested and tortured right? And in the name of quote unquote trademark capital D democracy, right? Isn't that what it's all about in it? So big ups and big respects. But yeah, respect to Lula and his tough graveled voice. But so we'll see. I think Kazakh mentioned it, Kazakhstan, Almaty. Unfortunately, Bloomberg decided to mention Almaty in its 25 places you should visit in the next year, which is somewhat diminished my enthusiasm because I independently ideated Almaty. Honestly, I think that's the thing. It was mentioned as part of some Winter Olympics bid a while back, and I clicked you Google Maps it, and it has enough Soviet influence to where it has the nice block system. So it's not like any of those cities that it's not like a city that's just horribly designed. But anyway, it's got Kazakh and Soviet, Russian, Chinese influences, right? So so it should be cool. So that'd be fun. Maybe spend. Flights aren't. Again, like Davis Gold travel, like Argentina for less than $1,300 for 8 days. Boom! That's how you do it. Right? Again, like $20 hotel, $600 flights, spend $30-40 a day. Again, like that's way too much for what I was eating. But again, like that's how you do it. Again, 8 days. Like you try to do that. Try to do like impossible to do in New York City or any U.S. city that way. Like you try looking up hostels in Philadelphia, right? Like Philadelphia is probably the most affordable big U.S. East Coast metro, and that just doesn't exist, right? So incredible. So I know, again, the U.S. Value prop just doesn't exist, you know? Does not exist. So let's go up. So yeah, we'll do a Chile vlog. We'll probably Palestino FC. That stadium is cool. Maybe the Hollande Memorial. We'll see. Again, it is very bizarre though that, again, like the Pinochet regime, you know, you could call me hypocritical right, for selectively using the word regime, but I would say Pinochet chucking people out of helicopters, that does count, I would say. That doesn't count as a regime. Well, clearly, right, given the fact that the U.S. was tacitly approving of it, right, kind of shows the game, right? But you're gonna have to flush it out. But again, it'll be fun. Again, 80 degrees, 60 in the morning, 80 degrees. This time I will wear sunscreen. I will wear sunscreen this time. In part because the looks maxing community has reminded me that skincare is important. Again, everything in life is a barbell. Again, like if you ever want a good laugh, or just so interesting, right? It's like the fact that I'm too young to have actively used forums as my main interaction medium on the internet, right? Like Reddit was big when Reddit or Tumblr were big enough by then, which is a different format. So like forums are different. And so a forum So to me, it's a very novel experience for me. Okay, let's cut through the school to get to the cathedral. Let's cut. The Looksmaxing forum, it's so funny. Because again, like the posts, they are in like the standard forum point where it's like 5 sentences, next word block, and all of that. But then like the language and denialism and jargon, it's just very different. And I would argue charming. Or it's just very different, we should say. So, very, very different. But yeah, but just the jargon is funny. Like it'd be so funny for someone who had no exposure to have to go in cold turkey and read it and summarize one of the posts. That'd be so good. Have it. Hey boss, can you read a little looksmaxing.com for me? Speak a little looksmax from Nick Mullen. That'd be good. But again, right, like if you abstract, right, the core idea, right, it's better to be better looking. I mean, in a weird sense, like this is make America healthy again. That's what the Looksmaxing community is kind of. Oh, look at that shot. Orthodox Church, sun in behind it. What a shot. Yeah, I mean, Looksmaxing, that's what it takes to get you to work out, then boom. Maha in a nutshell, eh? Yeah, he's the judge at that point, right? Here's the exit. Yeah, right. You know, little Hogsworth's quoted, right? Which is a very sad thing to say. You could say this is very Cambridge coded, but no, you associate it with a fictional land of muggles or whatever, right? Doesn't look like a lot of Christmas decorations here. Well, I just suppose JD Vance will be out here for a little Christmas service. But grab the booty. Yeah. So that's the. I mean, again, like this walk, like we've done it before, but it is a nice walk fundamentally, right? Interesting house in that neighborhood, right? Quiet. And again, this is just, I guess, not the. It's not like a German or the one in Barcelona, but again, you can just do things. You can just build things. Well, actually, you can't just build things. right? Even Peter Thiel has the DC runoff alerts. So we are all slaves to the greater forces at will, right? Institutions are the shadows of great men or women, lest we forget. So it's like, you can't forget about Condoleezza Rice in the Bush administration. There's like that Vanity Fair piece about some folks in the Trump admin. Interesting read, but how much? Well, no reason to doubt. But yeah, it's kind of like it's always strange, like the gap between what the person who's the subject of the article thinks it's about versus what the article actually comes out as. There's always that big difference. But I do wonder what the expectations were for it going into it. But just like well, if anything, it's nice of them to teach young people a lesson to just not speak to journalists for anything that oh yeah, the lesson is do not speak to journalists. Now, this one's not bad because I don't have any consequences from it. But the guy who was in charge of CNN had that damning Atlantic article that basically got him fired because of how bad it was. Like do not speak to journalists. Have your media person do it, but you do not speak to journalists. They will tear you up. Certainly, if you're not someone who's like, if it's not gonna be a sympathy piece, that you're kind of fucked, aren't you? So, yeah, incredibly mono again, but he works. He got to be the head of CNN. I believe he worked in network TV beforehand, so he clearly he knows what journalists do. So it's just strange that he let Adam McKay just eviscerate him. Yeah, it's pretty harsh. This view again, we've done it before, but just imposing, right? And cool. But, well, I just suppose at the end of the day, it's not a common predilection to be a high-powered media exec, right? So, government somehow. But yeah, so 2026 should be World Cup. We'll see how degenerate I am with just watching it. We'll see. Again, it's like you can only do so much, right? And there's actually push to pull between like how socially active versus indulging in my intellectual pursuits, right? Well, always a little tension. A little tension is good to have. But yeah, speaking of that, 2025, Metro Rewind. Top 0.5% of Metro users in 2025. Which frankly is a badge of shame almost, because it kind of implies that travel, you're not leaving the DMV as much. But top 0.5. Now it is like a true parallel because I had 697 metro trips, well, and more because I've done more since. So I'm over 700. But some people had like 1,200 metro trips. You know, like there is a thing like such as a power law. But the top 0.5% metro users, right, traveled 6,300 miles, which is a lot. Yeah, you could like cross the US multiple times. For Rockville Station, I am in the top 10. I'm literally like one of the top 10. Once again, it's also very shameful in a southern sense. But I literally, out of the entire Rockville population, I am one of the top 10 users of that station. Which could be construed as a bad shame. But yeah, I mean, that's cool, right? Like, hopefully it won't always be like that. Well, I don't know, it's just cool, but we'll see. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool in it. It's nice. And that's kind of it, right? That's a nice existence to have. We're gonna say, it's nice about everything. Like your existence is so well organized that you can just say, it's nice. It's anything. Anybody asks you anything about your existence, you can say, it's nice. How's work? It's nice. How's your dating life? It's nice. How's your finances? It's nice. Man. Like just saying it's nice. Like the warmth from my insides from saying it, like the intonation in my voice, right? It's nice. Like, oh my gosh, I yearn. I yearn to be in that flow state. Out of all the things I yearn for, it's it's one of them. So it'd be nice. It'd be nice. People say it's nice. Whoop! Oh my gosh, that would be nice. Alas, we only have one life, don't we? And it's this one. So, but it'd be nice.